Welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Greg Gonzalez. My goal for the podcast is to help you live a better life in retirement by giving you the tools and information you need in a language that you can understand. If you're a new listener, my website is retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. I want you to go there, check out my previous episodes. This is episode number 99, so there's 98 other episodes you can check out. And under my resources tab, I have my retirement secret sauce, which a lot of people, that's the most popular item that people are downloading. But also my first two steps of the retirement planning process are there. Step number 1 is to download the Blueprint to a Dream Retirement. This one piece, in my opinion, is the crucial starting point to start planning for retirement. Figure out what you want. Figure out what you don't want in retirement. Figure out your ideal retirement. How are you going to spend your time? How are you going to spend your days? What makes you happiest in life? What's on your bucket list? That's what this Blueprint to a Dream Retirement is all about. It all starts with a dream. So step number 1, you can download the Blueprint to a Dream Retirement, fill that out, and you'll be amazed just by writing down all your goals and what an ideal retirement looks like to you. You'll be amazed what a great starting point that is, because then you have detailed what we're planning for, what exactly that ideal retirement looks like to you, because that's what we're planning for. That's what you get. And so I always like to think of, okay, we're here, right? We want to get there. We're here. It's just like being at a mall. You remember the maps when you walk into the mall? I'm here. I want to get to Macy's or Dillard's or wherever it is. Well, first we got to figure out where is there. What's my day-to-day going to be like in retirement? Step number 2, you'll see our budgeting tool. And all that is it's saying, okay, what are your fixed expenses? What are your discretionary expenses in retirement? And what is this dream retirement? What's this going to cost us every single month? We have to know, okay, this is my dream retirement, but this is what it's going to cost me every month to be able to afford this dream retirement. So how much money do I need to have coming in every month to afford this dream retirement? So the budgeting tool, that's step number 2. Step number 3 of retirement is piecing together a retirement action plan and making sure you're able to answer these specific questions that I'm going to detail in step number 3. That's going to be available on the website under resources here probably in the next couple of weeks. So I'll, of course, announce whenever that's available. Again, the focus of our podcast is not to sell you anything. I'm not here to talk about politics, but rather my sole focus is to help the listeners of this podcast that are wanting to plan and looking for the information that's out there to plan for a successful retirement for the golden years of your life. And believe me, I've helped dozens and dozens of people retire. So I've got that experience and that wisdom, and I feel like I've seen so many different scenarios and situations and where people get it right and then also get it wrong. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode, is where people get retirement wrong and they fail miserably at retirement. There's 2 different types of people that fail miserably at retirement in my experience. And I even have a couple of clients that I've had really heart-to-heart conversations with them, and they can afford to retire, but I've really recommended, hey, keep working, because I think they're going to be happier working. I also think these clients are not emotionally ready to retire yet. And what's interesting is we've talked about the Blueprint to a Dream Retirement. Again, that's available on our website. You can download it. But these clients are not ready to take that next step and start completing that Blueprint to a Dream Retirement. So they're not ready yet, and that's okay. So before we get into today's episode, which is talking about the 2 types of people that fail miserably at retirement, I wanted to remind listeners our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. At the bottom, you can submit your questions, and I'll use those questions for future episodes of the podcast. So submit them. I'd be happy to get back with you and answer all of your retirement questions. And I wanted to take a minute and I wanted to congratulate George and Mary. George and Mary have been listening to the podcast for over a year now. They are going to be retiring at the end of May, and they are from Tennessee, the great state of Tennessee, and they actually have a retirement cruise, a retirement vacation that is booked for June, so they're really, really looking forward to that. So I wanted to take a minute and congratulate the both of them and also thank them for listening to the podcast, their new clients that went to the website and started the conversation to start building a retirement plan for them. And what was really, really interesting about this couple is George said, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to retire. But Mary was the more optimistic one of the two. And together we built their retirement plan. And kind of what it showed was based on the lifestyle that they wanted to continue to live in retirement, well, they were able to afford it. And hats off to the both of them. They worked extremely hard, had long careers, and even George working for 35 years for his employer. You don't see that every day. So congratulations to George and Mary. I really, really hope the two of you enjoy that retirement cruise. On today's episode, there's some people that are just not cut out for retirement. And we're going to talk about the two types of people today. George and Mary, they're cut out. They completed that blueprint to a dream retirement. They know what's going to make them happy in retirement. But these two types of people I see fail miserably at retirement. The first type of people that I see that fail miserably at retirement, and they're really unhappy, is they go from their working life, getting up, having a purpose every day, working the 8 to 5, going in, talking to their coworkers, and they kind of have a purpose. They know where they need to be. And that profession, that career, that occupation, it gives them meaning and purpose to their life. So when this type of person goes into retirement, and now they've got 7 days a week where every day is a Saturday, and they no longer have that purpose, that meaning Monday through Friday, what do you do with your time? These people really, really struggle. And what I find is for this type of person, the first week of retirement, they kind of just relax. They kind of maybe sleep in a little bit. And then the next week it's, okay, I'm sleeping in. They're looking around. What do I do? They're watching a little more TV. And then kind of boredom almost sets in. Maybe they miss their coworkers. They miss that interaction throughout the day of Monday through Friday and that purpose. They miss that feeling of accomplishment, of a honest day's work. So for this type of person, the biggest struggle that I see them face is filling that sense of purpose. Now, on the flip side, I have clients that go into retirement and they say, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I am going to volunteer at the Animal Society from 10 to 2 because they love dogs, they love animals, they love cats, and they really, really like volunteering. And then they may say, okay, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to babysit the grandkids those 2 days. So these other types of people, they have no problem filling their time. And in fact, they say, I'm busier in retirement than I was when I was working. So I really, really encourage those pre-retirees, before you get into retirement, try to plan ahead. How do you plan on spending your time, spending your hours, spending your days, Monday through Friday, to replace what you were doing in your profession? Sitting on the couch and watching TV, number one, it's not healthy. And number two, it gets old after a while. And I see this quite a bit when we have one spouse that retires and the other spouse, maybe the younger spouse, continues to work. The spouse that retires doesn't get to enjoy retirement on his or her own as much as if they were both retired at the same time. So in that scenario, I see quite a bit that the younger spouse will want to push up his or her retirement so they can enjoy retirement together. So to avoid being the first type of person, again, I encourage you to download and fill out that blueprint to a dream retirement. And one of the questions, if I remember correctly on it, is in retirement, I want to spend my days doing blank. And you can fill in the blank. Is it golfing? Is it gardening? Is it spending time with the grandkids? Is it going to the cafe? Is it volunteering? Is it being more involved at your church? So I really encourage you, plan ahead. Figure out what it is that you want to spend your time doing in retirement that will make you the happiest version of yourself. Again, the goal here is you don't want to be that retiree number one that fails miserably at retirement because they're bored out of their mind and they feel like they don't have a purpose. The second type of person that fails miserably at retirement is the overspender. And I don't see this a lot, but I do see it. I've had 2 clients that I've actually had to part ways with over the years because they were overspending and they were jeopardizing the success of their retirement. I know Dave Ramsey tells people all the time, you just can't spend like they do in Congress. You have to live at or below your means. And you hear some retirees say, I'm on a fixed income. And yeah, that's true. You have to live within your means still in retirement. So yeah, the fixed income, your pension, Social Security, and then the amount of money that you can draw from your retirement nest egg, all of that makes up your cash flow or retirement income that you have to spend every single month, and you have to kind of stick to that. So as long as you stay within those parameters, you're going to be just fine in retirement. But the people that fail miserably at retirement, the second type of person, has a habit of spending above and beyond the cash flow that they have coming in every month in retirement. And so I say this, okay, if that's the cash flow, what are you doing with the rest? Are you putting it on credit cards, or what's happening here? With retirement income, like let's talk about Social Security or your pension income that comes in once a month. If you spend more than you had planned on for a specific month, you can't call Social Security and say, hey, can I get a bigger check this month, or can I get the June check a little quicker? They're going to tell you, are you out of your mind? Same thing with your pension. If you called them up and said, hey, I spent more than I had really planned on it, can you give me a couple months ahead? That's not how it works. The pension representative would just laugh and say, no, you're going to have to wait until next month when your next pension check comes in. Funny story about that topic. I worked at a restaurant, and it was somewhat of a chain. I guess there were maybe a half a dozen in the St. Louis, Missouri, Illinois area, and they're still around. And this is 20 years ago. But at the time, I was a server. So the way I made money, I think I made like $1.90 an hour, and then you made tips. And that was pretty much how you got paid. So my paychecks were really, really tiny. And then I'd get tips every day. I'd walk home with cash tips, which was very nice being a server. But there were cooks. And I remember one day, one of the managers was really, really bummed out, and he was really in a bad mood. And I said, John, what's wrong? And he said, well, a couple of our cooks came to me last week and they said, hey, we're running short on cash. We know that next week is payday. Can you go ahead and give us our paycheck this week and pay us for all of the hours that we're going to work next week? Those cooks, they were working them like 50 hours a week. They were pretty brutal. And so John, being a nice guy that he was, he went ahead and like paid 3 or 4 different cooks a week's pay like ahead of time. So they went ahead and cashed their checks, the following week ahead of time. And guess what? They never heard from those guys again. They were calling their cell phones, hey, you're late for work. Well, they weren't answering the phones. And John was bummed out because, of course, the owner said, hey, why did you pay these guys a week ahead of time? And now we have 3 or 4 cooks that we can't get a hold of. So Social Security is definitely not going to pay you 1 month in advance. Your check will come once a month, just like everybody else. And that brings up a question that I hear from a lot of people as they're getting ready to retire. When you retire, your paycheck stops, and we have to replace it. We have to replace it with other income. So that may be IRA and Roth IRA withdrawals. That could be a brokerage account that you're living off of and providing dividends and interest. You'll have your Social Security income. For a lot of people, will start that upon retirement. Some people will wait a little bit. Like I said, that Social Security check will come once a month. Pension checks, if you're lucky enough to have a pension, that'll come once a month. So typically when we're doing this planning for people, some people have a hard time with their budgeting when, while they were working, they were getting paid every 2 weeks, right? So to get one paycheck from Social Security just once a month, not every 2 weeks, some people have a hard time budgeting that. And so what we try to do is we try to say, okay, if we're giving you another check or distribution out of your IRA, for example, we'll try to put that on the 16th of the month if your Social Security check's coming in on the 1st. That way, you're still getting paid twice a month like you were used to. And then we have other clients that say, nah, send it all on the 15th. I'm fine with that, as long as I know what day of the month the money's coming in. Unfortunately, with Social Security, you don't get to pick what day of the month your Social Security check is deposited into your bank account, but they will tell you when you sign up for Social Security what day to expect your Social Security direct deposit check. So again, to kind of recap today's discussion, the 2 types of people that fail miserably at retirement. Number 1 are the type of people that got so much purpose and meaning out of their work and they go from that, their career, to sitting on the couch, and they don't know how to fill their time in retirement, and they end up unhappy and bored, and they find themselves in a life that doesn't have much purpose. So we encourage you, again, download the Blueprint to a Dream Retirement and plan ahead and find out what's going to make you the happiest version of yourself in retirement. What's going to give you that joy and that meaning. And that's how you need to be spending your time in retirement, not sitting on the couch. And the second type of person that fails miserably at retirement is the overspender. Again, with retirement, if you have a retirement plan, it will tell you how much you're allowed to spend every month, and it may be a range, right? But that retirement plan will give you the guidelines of how much you can afford to consistently spend every single month, month in and month out. And it's your job to kind of stay within those parameters and spend and live within those parameters. And that's something that as a retirement planner just scares me to death when someone is overspending much more than we had originally planned, because what it means is they are running a higher risk than I'm comfortable with of running out of money at some point in the future. And then what are they going to do? Well, then they're out of money. Their retirement nest egg has been depleted, and then they're living purely on their Social Security and a pension if they're lucky enough to have it. And if that happened, they would probably have to really, really cut their lifestyle at that point. So the lesson we can learn from that person is don't overspend. It's just a bad idea to spend money like you're in Congress. I hope this episode of the Retirement Made Easy podcast has been insightful and helpful to you. Again, questions, go to our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. At the bottom, it'll say Ask Greg a Question. You can submit your questions there. Next week, we'll have an episode that's devoted to nothing but listener questions. That'll be episode number 100. I'll see you next week, and remember, always dream big. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, please consult your attorney, financial advisor, or tax advisor prior to investing. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA, SIPC.